Saatchi brothers, I think their idea looked foolish at the time. Here was a young man who had worked at two agencies. He cut his teeth working with two agencies, one called Benton and Bowles. The agency doesn't exist anymore. And then he worked at College Dickinson Pierce and partners called CDP. He was started off as a copywriter, and he started in 1965. By 1970, he had pulled some people along with his junior brother, and they formed what we now know as Saatchi and Saatchi, Charles and Maurice Saatchi. I think that by 1986, thereabouts, they had bought Ted Bates and they became the biggest advertising agency in the world. Now, when those guys started up in 1970, when they started their agency, nobody gave them a chance. Don't forget that they were Iraqis. Their parents came from Iraq, even though they were British themselves. They are British born. It was like, how could a copywriter go and start an agency when all of the big names were there in the British market? So he didn't just take the British market by storm. As I said, by 1986, thereabout, he had bought Ted Bates and they became the biggest advertising agency in the world. I mean, that was foolishness personified. They handled the Labour Isn't Working campaign for Margaret Thatcher, and that saw her become the Prime Minister of Great Britain. They were loved by everybody. They were the starry-eyed voice of advertising during their time. They really motivated me, and I'm happy that somewhere down the line, our paths crossed. I met the brothers and we worked together, and they still continue to inspire me even till today, as indeed many other people who did incredible things in the advertising profession. Why would this guy must have been so crazy to have ventured? You don't throw away a good position, a good job, everything good, relatively, to start on a journey of madness, as it were. So you had capital of 128,000 naira, and you had debt of 104,000 naira, and you had business worth 15,000 naira. So you take 18 people with you and go and open an office somewhere. It must be a joke in 1980. And I think a lot of people saw it as a joke. But I didn't think of it that way, to be honest. I thought it was a journey that would have so many good returns. Way back in 1970, the Saatchi brothers, Charles and Maurice, starting Saatchi and Saatchi, that was a huge motivation for me. And it is interesting that even today, 40 years down the line, we still have a relationship with that brand name. Yes, we did something that looked very foolish, but to God be the glory, we can smile about it 40 years down the line now. I remember the campaign we ran for Gulda. Gulda was lagging and Nigerian Breeze wanted to do something about it, and then we gave it such a turnaround, which resulted in the Gulda Ultimate Search campaign and the Gulda, the recovery. I think we shot that commercial in Spain. And boy, it really turned around the fortunes of Gulda. In fact, we had to launch the campaign itself at the Eco Hotel at the time because everybody was so much in love with it. We launched it to the media. But it took courage and took support of a client that totally believed in the value that we were adding to the proposition at the time. And they just went the whole hog. Don't forget, Gulda became the first brand to actually have what you guys now call, what you call this program on television now, reality show. We were the first to start it with Gulda. And for weeks it ran with the competition and the guys struggling, trying to find the treasure, as it were, for which they were rewarded. I think I cannot forget that campaign, as indeed there were so many other campaigns that maybe when we started they thought it was a foolish idea, as indeed the Orange Men campaign was thought to be a foolish idea when we had those 3 orange men going around Lagos and touching anything that had an orange color. And I tell you, that sold a lot of Mirinda for us at the time. So there are reminiscences that one can look back on and look at and say, when this whole idea came up, some people thought it could just have been foolish ideas. But at the end of the day, they achieved their objective, just to help sell a lot of our clients' brands and make them winners in the marketplace. Insight was, I can't believe it's 40 years actually, but it was a dream come true. We had an idea what kind of a company we wanted it to be, that it had to be a big company, because we knew that it is good to be big. It is better to be able to deliver, because when you are big, then you're able to bring a lot of resources to bear. And when we set out, we did say that if we did a good job and we did it consistently, fame and fortune would follow. So, and that has been the trajectory that we pursued, which is to constantly do good job. Now, to constantly do good job is very difficult, extremely difficult, because it's a people's business. So it means that if you don't have the quality of manpower, you will not be able to deliver consistently. So that meant that we had to place priority and emphasis on people. So Insight remains a people's company. It then means that we had to invest in our people, which we continue to do. So today, Insight is referred to as the University of Advertising. When you look at the industry today, I think it would be fair to say that perhaps between 75 and 80% of our alumni are the ones who run and own some of the very thriving marketing communications businesses in the country today. So, and to have achieved that within our first 40 years is something that I think, without being immodest, need to be complimented. Now, what is the trajectory for the next 40 years? Insofar as we have handed over the baton to a new generation of leaders, we can only just hope that they plug into the kind of roadmap that we drew 40 years ago, they improve on it and continue to pursue that same trajectory, because it's a win-win proposition, both for the company, both for its clients, and all the stakeholders. Not to do that, in my view, could lead to disaster. I think that for me personally, I feel gratified, because as you know, I'm not in. 16 years ago, I detached myself from the company. And if you look at where the company was then and where it is now, you'll find that, unlike most Nigerian businesses, it has kept on moving on. So that gives some of us a lot of joy and pride. So it's the ability for those kind of things to continue that we only hope for. And I rest confident that that will be the case.